And we're back. Sorry about that technical difficulties there. We just had a little bit of an incident, but we're back, and we're back to discussing this Braves Cardinals series. Excuse me. All right, so Blackberry, like we were saying before, what is your panic level as far as the pitching performance and overall series play against the Cardinals, or is there any?
I don't have a panic level. I'm not panicked at all. I'm gonna echo a little bit of what OG Two Hurt said earlier, and my only I'm gonna say resolve is that I have with Soroka. I'm not necessarily. I don't want to say I'm disappointed in Soroka. I mean, because I don't think any of us expected much, considering he was out for so long. We do see that some of his pitches, he's gonna have to get back into the nick of things, like that sinker. Somebody seen you had caught during that Dodgers series. Was it the Dodgers series? It might have been that first game in that Cardinals series.
Yeah. He started the first game of the Cardinals series.
Yeah, man. He's floating that sinker. He can't get it down. I don't know. Maybe if it's something that he just got to get. He got to go work on. Or maybe it's something mental with him. But I mean, that's one of his best pitches. So if he can't get that down, I'm not necessarily worried, but I take pause. That's the best way for me to put it. And with Elder, man, it's just something about the look in that guy. He don't look confident to me right now. It hasn't been that way all season.
He had a good start against the Dodgers.
He did have a good start, but that third game, man, he just looked nervous out there. And he looked nervous out there before. I don't know. I just don't. What's that?
Oh no, I was just gonna say normally because Bryce Elder, he might get into some situations with some base runners all over the place, but lately I just feel like he's done a good job limiting the damage. But since this is his, and that's good for him facing diversity now because he hasn't ever had a season where he's taking the ball every 5 days. And the first season he's done that, he's an all-star this year. So I think with Bryce Elder,
like him closing.
He's having a good season.
I don't like him closing. Yeah, but I don't like him closing, man. I think he's just had the luck of the draw. As far as like batters grounding the ball out or fly balls. Not saying that he ain't got nothing to do with that because he absolutely does. But I think it's been a little bit of the luck of the draw with him. I don't know. Maybe it's his face. When I look at his eye, when I look in his eyes, I just don't see confidence. I really don't like him closing in October, man. I really hope he ain't in that closer.
That's a question mark. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Braves do come postseason because we know we're going to have Strider, we know we're going to have Max Fried, and we know we're going to have Charlie Morton. Now, those three are locks to be starting pitchers in the postseason. But do we carry Bryce Elder is going to be an interesting proposition. Let's say if we carry him, he might go in the bullpen and pitch some in long relief. But he also could start. He's just never started in the playoffs. That's the only thing. The playoffs are just a whole different animal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But in this Cardinals series, and I mentioned this before we stopped the show, there was the Cardinals have had a great offensive year. It's really just their pitching that has been so bad that they're in last place in the NL Central. And like I said before, top 5 most disappointing teams this season got to be. But they hit the home run ball. Tyler O'Neill and Nolan Gorman both hit 2 homers off in this game to give the Cardinals 10 runs. And normally it's the Braves who are hitting all these homers against their opponents, not the other way around. So that was a bit of a shocker. But like you said before, when you have a turbo sinker like Soroka does, and you leave it up in a zone, that's really the happy zone for a lot of hitters.
Oh yeah, that's to give it to me so I can knock it out of here. You leave it sitting up there like that.
Yeah, and Soroka, and with regards to the injury that he was taken out of during the third inning, I was originally really nervous when they said numbness or shaking in his fingers, because that's I don't remember what it's actually called, but it's like thoracic something syndrome, and that has put so many pitchers behind the eight ball for their entire career. And Soroka doesn't need any more of that, because he's already been put behind the eight ball so many times in these last 3 years, trying to just get back to the way he was before. So I'm thankful and happy to hear that he didn't really have anything too serious, even though we won't see him pitch again this season.
Yeah, because that diagnosis you're talking about, that's something to do with your physical and your mental clashing, right? Something they say about your nerve system and all that clashing with your mental.
Yeah, is it thoracic outlet syndrome? I think it might be thoracic outlet syndrome. That can cause that, like the numbness, shaking in the fingers, and that's really affected a lot of pitchers.
Yeah,
but I'm glad he avoided that.
Thankfully, it's nothing like that. Yeah.
So I'll express my opinion on the pitching now. I think now I'm not concerned. I share the sentiment with you that you over 162 games, you're going to have a couple games like this, or a series like this where the pitching just isn't there. But I will say it is a kind of a common trend where, for Spencer Strider at least, that he really shows up against elite offenses. He's incredible. Now there was this stat I posted earlier where Spencer Strider has been elite against really good lineups. He's had a sub-3 ERA against those lineups, and I have it here. So this is Spencer Strider versus currently teams 500 or better. He's got a 2.63 ERA. He's getting 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and opponents are hitting under 200 on batting average. Now, if you look at teams currently under 500, that's 11 games. He's pitched to a 6.11 ERA and a 253 opponent's batting average compared to a 2.9 Ks to walk ratio instead of the 7 K walk to ratio that's in over 500 teams. So that's
so in other words, he's gonna be the man in October.
Yes, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, we know last year the Spencer Strider was injured when he pitches. I don't care. I'm throwing that stat out the window, out the city, out of the state, out of the country. I don't even want to talk about it again. He was still injured. Yeah. So, especially when he throws a 92-mile-per-hour fastball from Spencer Strider. When do you ever see that? So that
right.
And this team is another case of that. I mean, the Cardinals, yes, they're under 500, but what's a little bit strange about the Cardinals situation is they have a good lineup. It's just their pitching that has been so terrible this season that they're not in contention. But they hit homers, they hit for average. They've got the MVP on their team from last year. They got another top 5 MVP candidate in Nolan Arenado, and they've got a good lineup. They just can't pitch, and it showed. Like the Braves offense did their job this series. I mean, we scored 6 runs in both the first games, and then 8 runs in the last game. So they showed up, but the pitching just needed to be not terrible. It could have been bad, and we still could have won because the Braves just score so well. But when it's this bad, allowing 10 runs back-to-back days, there's really not much you can do as far as the offensive standpoint, or you can expect from an offense to carry you that far.
Yeah, it's really not a good look giving up 2 10-plus run. I mean, hell, man, it is baseball. It's really not a good look giving up more than 2 games for 5-plus runs.
Yeah.
But 10, man, that's not a good look. And I think that's why a lot of fans are taking so much pause on before they get, because it's a lot of fans that's really they catching their breath and saying, you know what, maybe we shouldn't get too excited about this team in October. Yeah, the bats are good, but if we can give that up, if we giving up runs like this in a series this late in the season, then what does that say about our pitching room? But like the question you asked though, what's your panic? Do you have a panic level? I'm still not panicked.
Yeah.
We know that Schnick is going to put these guys in the best position to succeed.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the pitching. Like we've taken a turn for having a stretch of some of the worst pitching in the league. Like especially when you look at Spencer Strider, I'm actually gonna this is a testament to what Will said a lot on the show. Spencer Strider, low key, has been our most inconsistent pitcher. He's had a good year, but here's what I'll say. Strider, we already know from those stats about the games difference between over 500 teams and under 500 teams. But we also know that Strider can go through these 3 or 4 starts where he'll walk everybody and throw fastballs in the zone instead of, that patented fastball up by the zone where hitters can't catch up to it. But he'll have that for 3 or 4 starts. But then he'll run off a string of 9 or 10, allowing 3 runs or less and going 5 or 6 innings every time and striking out 9 guys at least. So it's often forgotten. But I do think that Strider has had some level of inconsistency this season. Now, the pitching staff as a whole, I don't agree. Max Fried, obviously, he's been injured for most of the season, but he's been good since he's come back. Charlie Morton's been incredible this year. I don't think we could have asked for much more than what Charlie's given us now. Bryce Elder, first year coming off of just some rookie and spot starts, all-star, getting the ball every 5 days, and battling through a bunch of adversity that otherwise a couple years ago we would have just seen the game just fall off the rails. I think this pitching staff's done a great job as a whole. But when you look at him individually, I definitely think Strider has been the most inconsistent pitcher. And he hasn't been that inconsistent. Yes, there are some inconsistencies, but it's not something where you say, okay, he's had a bad year. He's had a great year, Strider has. But overall, I would say he has been the most inconsistent.
I think it's really the bullpen fans want to see more consistency out of. Like we've always had faith in the starting group, even when guys come back from injury. Like it's like you plug them in, they right back. They pick up right back where they left off. Exception of Soroka.
Yeah.
But I really think it's just it's the bullpen. Fans want to see more consistency out of.
Yeah, and lately they have been pretty inconsistent. Overall, or during the season, if you look at stats, we've had an incredible year. And yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, I'd say over the past week or so, it's been a little bit inconsistent. Raisel Iglesias had his first bad outing within a span of a month and a half. So that was strange to see when Raisel almost couldn't close that last game against the Cardinals, because after winning NL Reliever of the Month for August, allowing 0 runs for an entire month, he had a really bad outing. But I'm glad he chose to have it then when we had an 8-3 lead going into the 9th.
Yeah, because he's usually probably our best persistent pitcher in the bullpen.
Yeah, I think he along with Joe Jimenez probably overall, if you look at the course of the season, have probably been our 2 most consistent relievers. Kirby Yates has been on and off.
Oh my God, Kirby Yates! Oh, yeah. Now I think I share that same sentiment about Elder with Yates, but even more.
Okay.
Yates sometimes he comes out, he doesn't look confident in his pitches, and because of the pitch count, I'm gonna know. Tell me if you've seen this, but I don't see him on the same page with the catcher that often.
I don't think I can really tell about that. I don't have an opinion on that one, but I do think that Kirby, overall, this is his first year coming back after having some surgeries with a really consistent role for the bullpen. And I think he was a lot of people forget Kirby Yates was the best closer in the league in 2019, I believe. And he won he won a ton of NL relievers of the month. Like he was an all-star that year when he was on the Padres. He was an elite closer. So I think coming back and just being in a more consistent role is something that he's been adjusting to as well over the course of the season.
Yep. Damon, what's up with you, Damon?
And yeah, we got We Talk Hawks TV in here. Damon, this guy, y'all got to check out We Talk Hawks TV. There may be a crossover in the works between We Talk Hawks TV and Georgia Sports Nation come the first week of the Hawks season this year. So
I like it.
There may be a crossover, but definitely go check out We Talk Hawks TV, guys. Great Hawks content over there, and Blackberry and I sometimes go on that show as well. So if you like a ton of Hawks content and hot takes and just overall great basketball discussion, We Talk Hawks TV is the place to go. So shout out to Mom. But
can't wait for that whole season to kick
yeah,
off, man.
hey, Hawks season's gonna be fun this year. We got a lot of stuff going on. But back to this Cardinals series. Now, in the second game, you had the Cardinals hit another 4-homer game against Spencer Strider, and this was, I think this was Strider's worst outing of the year. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
He just never found a groove. He was walking a ton of guys. Guys were hitting homers on pitches that you normally didn't see. It was just so uncharacteristic of the Spencer Strider that we've seen for the majority of this season.
He couldn't find the damn strike box for nothing.
No, he couldn't find his zone.
He couldn't find his zone for nothing, man. And I think in the beginning, I think he was trying to get him to chase a little bit, because he was just missing so much. That's really what I thought his game plan was. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna, because of that first game, he was like, "Oh, maybe they feeling themselves. Let me catch them sleeping and get them to chase some of these balls." But they just wasn't biting.
No.
But then it just kept happening, and you just had to realize, he ain't got it tonight.
Yeah, and the 4 Cardinals who hit the homers: Paul Goldschmidt, Mason Wynn, who had his first career home run actually in that second game of the series, Wilson Contreras, and then Nolan Gorman. But I forgot to touch base on this real quick in the first game. Jordan Walker, not the Hawks, the Cardinals right fielder, who's had an excellent rookie year. He's from Atlanta, and he got 3 hits and I think 4 RBIs in his opening game at Truist Park, where he was facing against the team he rooted for as a kid. So that had to feel good.
Oh, he's from Atlanta? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jordan Walker's from Atlanta, or he's from Georgia.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's from Atlanta, but yeah.
But from Georgia though. Okay.
Yep. So, but he's been really good for the Cardinals. They know his, and Jeff Rancourt and Peter Moreland were talking on the broadcast both nights. They know the Cardinals know that Jordan Walker's bat is MLB ready. I think it's similar to Vaughn Grissom. I think Jordan Walker has a little bit more power and is more versatile than Vaughn. But similarly to Vaughn Grissom, his defense is the only question mark about him right now in right field. And Vaughn Grissom, obviously, we got the same question. We know Vaughn can hit for average. That OPS might need to be a bit up for Vaughn to, get a consistent role offensively. And we'd like to see a bit more power numbers. But we know Vaughn can play pepper with right field, hit the ball the other way with the rest of them right now. But the defense just isn't there. And that's similar to what the Cardinals are going through with Jordan Walker.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to just touch base on that because that had to feel pretty special for him coming back and playing his first game in Truist Park against the team he grew up rooting for.
Right, and doing pretty well.
Yeah. He's destroyed us actually in all the games we faced the Cardinals. If you remember, we actually swept the Cardinals in the second series of the year after winning the series against the Nationals, or way back when in April. So that sounds so long ago. It's really not when you think about the entire.
That long, but right. In the terms of in baseball years, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it just feels like years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And in the third game of the series, we had Adam Wainwright facing the Braves for the last time in his career, and the Braves actually gifted him a portrait of him when he got drafted by the Braves, and Brian Snitker gave it to him before the game. So that was a classy move by the organization, especially a guy like Adam Wainwright. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame most likely. I don't know about first ballot, but I think he will be in there eventually. He's had a great career with the Cardinals, and the Braves greeted him rudely, but still good, still good to see the Braves do a classy move like that and gift him a portrait before the game.
Yeah, shout out to old Wayne, man. He had a real good career, man.
Yes, he's had. And I wish the Cardinals would have been doing better for him because he's a playoff monster throughout the course of his career. He's been at least. So I would like to see him pitch in the playoffs one more time. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Now, on the flip side of this, Max Fried. So this is his 5th or 6th start since coming back, I believe, off the IL. and he
Right.
gives up 3 runs in 6 innings. Now, all those 3 runs were in one inning. When you look at that on the box score, what does that tell you about Max Fried's start?
Just tell me he just had an inning where they got the ball on the bat a few times. That's all it tell me.
It was weird. That inning, Max Fried walked with the bases loaded, and then
totally out of his character.
Yeah,
totally out of his character.
It just looked like, and my grandmother actually tells me this all the time. Max Fried is always just so stoic when he's on the mound. He doesn't like to show a lot of emotion and everything, but when he walked that run in with the bases loaded, that was when he started to show a little emotion. And we all know that pissed off Max Fried is dangerous. After that, giving up 0 runs. We saw that in the playoffs in 2021. You don't want to piss off Max Fried.
He becomes a White Walker. He becomes a White Walker. Anybody watch Game of Thrones, you know what I mean. If you think you're dead in the water because you got him on a bad inning, he gonna come back as a White Walker, and you ain't gonna be able to do nothing. He gonna have ice in his veins. He gonna have fiery blue eyes. That's what's gonna happen.
And yeah, this is actually a trend with Max Fried over a couple starts now. He's had got off to a rough start within the first 3 innings. And he had base runners all over the place and kind of like that. But after he has that big inning, he settles down. Now, we'd like to avoid those big innings, of course. But now what is the next step for Max Fried to feel like, okay, I'm back here. I'm ready for this postseason? Because last year, we know both Strider and Fried were injured when they started in the playoffs. What is the key for Max Fried to feel like I'm back? I'm ready completely 100% for these postseason starts come October.
I think what he can build on is exactly what we say he needs to fix, and that's when he gives up those big innings, that one big inning. Listen, I feel bad for teams in the playoffs when they get a big inning on Max Fried. If it's early in the game, if it's the first few innings, you might as well wrap up the next 3, because he gonna come out there and he gonna pitch lights out. I think something that he's real good at doing is knowing how to adjust what he's not doing right on the mound in game. I think he's really good at that. Some I'm gonna start paying attention to is when he does have those big innings, when he gives up those innings like that. It's the difference in his placement of his pitches when he comes back out the next time around, because it clearly this dude is harder on himself than anybody else is hard on.
Yeah,
because he's really good at just coming out there and getting it together and getting it right. They call Matt Ryan Matt at Ice because if he throw an interception on one series, he's gonna come back out the next series. He's gonna throw your lights out. He's gonna pass your lights out. That's exactly what Max Fried does. When he sees he makes a mistake or he has a bad time out on that mound, he's really good at just coming out there, fixing it, and just really just getting the business for the rest of the game. So I think if for him, it's just build on what he's already capable of doing.
Gotcha. Yeah. And if you look at this Cardinals series, obviously, the series lost, but if there's a couple positive you can take away, it's definitely on the offensive side of the baseball. Matt Olson had struggled getting his power stroke back over the past couple weeks. Now he found it in that last game of the Dodgers series, and it got into his luggage, went on the plane, landed in Atlanta, and went to Truist Park with him, because now he's hit 4 home runs in the past 4 games. And it comes in bunches too. It's funny. He'll have these power slumps where he'll still be hitting the ball the other way. He'll hit singles, he'll hit his doubles like we know he can do, but the power stroke won't be there. Then he goes off and hits like 6 home runs in 13 games or something like that. Something crazy like what Marcelo is doing something right now. You'll see Matt Olson do that a ton of times. But I'm just really encouraged to see it come back, because Well, for a long time, people were like, okay, is Matt Olson going to take the Homer League? It's been a long time since the Braves have had a guy lead the league in homers. It was Andrew Jones with 51 the last time the Braves have had a guy who's led the.
Whoa, was it that long ago?
What?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Andrew Jones in 51.
So Jason Hayward didn't lead the league in home runs?
I don't believe so. Or no. Oh, sorry. No. Okay. I might be right about this, but I'm not exactly 100% sure on what I said. But I am 100% sure that the franchise record is 51 set by Andrew Jones. That's where it is. So people are seeing if Matt Olson can get that franchise record, get over 51 homers. That's what they want to see.
It's still a lot of time. It's still plenty of time left.
Yeah, we got
plenty of games left.
We got 26 games left around there. We've got 20. We actually got 23 games left. 23 games left in a season. That sounds like a low number. It's getting close. Getting close to postseason baseball, which is the best kind of playoff sports. I don't care what everyone says. If you want to have this debate with me, Blackberry, we can do it another time. But for me, playoff baseball is the best playoff sport, no matter what. I watch every Hawks game. I watch almost every Braves game. But playoff baseball is something different. What about you? What's your favorite playoff sport to watch?
You hear me, Mike?
Yep, I can hear you now. You cut out there for a couple seconds.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, I'm going through a rough spot. I don't know, Mike. NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs, brother. NBA playoffs. I'm sorry. It's the best playoff time in sports.
No, I get it. I mean, it's for me. Those are definitely 1 and 2. So for me, I mean, obviously, baseball and basketball are two favorite sports to watch. I'd rather watch a regular season basketball game 100% than a regular season baseball game. But the difference is for me in the playoffs, a bucket is scored in basketball. It's like, okay, they have a 2-point lead. Okay, so be it. Wait, in the first quarter. But let's say it's the second inning and Max Fried walks, who we might face the Phillies in the postseason, walks Bryce Harper in the second inning with 2 outs. You're like, oh, no, there's a base runner. Oh my goodness! But in game 89 of the regular season, Max Fried walks Bryce Harper in the second inning of Braves and Phillies. You're like, okay, 2 outs, runner on base, not a big deal. I don't know. It's just something about the playoffs that just brings out all your worry and all your stress for baseball, which is what I love about it.
Yeah, I feel you, but I feel you on that.
Yeah. And we saw the battle between Mookie Betts and Ronald Acuna last week in LA. And Ronald Acuna came back and has not slowed down. 2-homer game for Ronald in the third game of the series. And on the second one, Adam Wainwright, you could tell his expression on his face. He literally mouthed the words, wow, when he hit his second homer because he hit a pitch. He hit a homer to right center field over the bullpen fence that was below the zone. It was a curveball about low 70s, and he waited back on that and sent that thing over the fence when it was almost touching the ground. That is what I remember because I was watching the game with my brother, and
it's crazy.
I said, "Oh, he didn't get all that, did he?" And the ball kept going. I was like, "Wait a minute," and it was gone. I was like, "Wow!" I couldn't believe he hit a homer off that pitch. Oh no. Well, it seems like we lost Blackberry's connection there for a sec. But yeah, Ronald just keeps doing things that we've never seen before this season. So that it's just crazy to see him every night leading off things for the Braves. And the way he did it against Adam Wainwright on the first pitch that he saw was just crazy. And lastly, I want to speak a little about Michael Harris and just the season that he's had. Because I think a lot of people, when you saw Harris struggling so much like he did for the first 2 months of the season, they were like, does Harris go back to AAA? Does he need to figure out something with his offense? And I think they kept him up there just for his defense because it's so elite. You've seen him make countless plays at center field over the course of the season. And by the way, Tommy Edman plays an amazing center field for the Cardinals. He came up originally as a second baseman, and he's just transitioned beautifully to center field. But I digress. With Michael Harris, he is now batting so well that you would think that he's just been this way the entire season. If you didn't follow the Braves the entire season, you wouldn't know that Michael Harris was below 200 batting average-wise for the first few months. Now, if you look at Michael Harris, he is at 294 for the season. He could get up to 300 after spending the first 2 months sub 200. But raising your batting average 100 points over the course of a season after you have 2 months of at-bats in there, I don't think people realize how great of an achievement that is and how much of an adjustment that takes and mental fortitude to say, hey, you still belong here. Your bat plays here. And Michael Harris has just done an amazing job with that. And he credits Marcell Ozuna a lot for keeping him that way. The guys love Marcell Ozuna, and he's paying it off by showing how well he can hit the ball. I hope he gets to those 40 homers, like I said last week, because he's going to make me look like a genius. So let's see if he can do it. But, all right, on to previewing this Pirate series. Now, if you remember, after the All-Star break, the Braves faced the Pirates. It was not a great series. Now, the Braves split the series, but our pitching was terrible. After that second week of the All-Star break, the Braves actually had the second worst starters ERA. At the bottom were the Pirates. So let's see if our pitching can bounce back and have great performances against the Pirates and against the and bounce back from the Cardinals series as well, because we owe them some payback. Now, Matt Olson, 47 homers. He's 4 away from tying Andrew Jones for the franchise record. Is he going to do it? We'll see, because the Pirates have a good guy on the mound tonight. Mitch Keller is a force to be reckoned with on that mound. He's got a great curveball, great slider. So those are really, really things to keep an eye on with Mitch Keller. Is he leaving the ball up? Because if he does, the Braves will hit a lot of homers tonight, guaranteed. He's given up 20 homers, so he's had trouble giving up the long ball throughout the year. So we'll see if the Braves, who've hit the most homers by far in the league, can take advantage of that. Now, the Braves lineup as a whole hasn't seen Mitch Keller a lot. Ronald Acuna has actually seen him the most, and is 3 for 11 with 2 homers off him. So that's a good sign. Matt Olson has also had some good luck against Keller in his career, 2 for 5. But other than that, it's a small sample size. Now, on the other end, Pittsburgh against Bryce Elder, Brian Hayes has the largest sample size of at-bats against Bryce Elder. He's batting 1 for 3. So Bryce Elder is going to have one element of surprise, I guess, if you will, for these Pirates hitters. 3 of them haven't faced Elder in their careers. So Bryce Elder definitely has the pitching matchup on paper when you look at the lineups. And both Mitch Keller and Bryce Elder have had great years. So let's see which off-speed pitcher is going to come up on top. You know that Bryce Elder likes to use that changeup against lefties down and away. Mitch Keller's going to try to get righties to chase that curveball and slider out of the zone to the left-hand batter's box. So can both offenses be disciplined enough to not chase and wait for that mistake by the pitchers leaving the ball up in the zone? That's going to be the key for both offenses tonight. And the Pirates overall, they had a hot start to the season, and they were leading the division after a good chunk of games, really. But they've definitely slowed down. And with the Pirates offense, they don't have a lot of guys that are going to hit home runs. You have Jack Sawinski, who's hit 23 homers, but other than that, Brian Hayes can hit some homers and Brian Reynolds. But really, those are the only guys that you have to really pay attention to as far as power numbers. They're going to want to hit for average. They're going to want to get those big innings and pepper you to the opposite field to stage a big inning and a big rally. Bryce Elder's one of the best ground ball pitchers in the league. Let's see if he can squash those rallies with a couple double plays. He's actually Bryce Elder's turned the most double plays behind him out of any pitcher in the league this year. So let's see if that can happen, and that which will be a great sign for the Braves to win this series. ESPN gives the Braves a 74% chance to win the game tonight with Elder against Keller. So let's see if the Braves can follow through and keep this momentum going, because after you come back from a series like LA, like OG Truth said, yeah, there can be some. Oh, you're all good, Blackberry. Maybe there can be a little jet lag coming back from the West Coast. You add all your emotions for a big Dodger series, then you have a poor pitching performance against the Cardinals. Let's see if we can bounce back and get the momentum on the right track as we charge through September into the playoffs. Now, I want to discuss a little bit of Hawks talk here, because we really haven't talked a little bit. We haven't talked about the Hawks in a couple of weeks here. There really hasn't been much news, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. If you tell me in the chat, what is your expectation of Quinn Snyder with this team? Do you think he elevates this team to near 50 wins? Obviously, last year the Hawks were perfectly mid at 41-41. We gave up almost the same amount of points that we gave up on the road at home and at home. There was just so many stats that we were just dead even in. But what can Quinn Snyder do to really take this team to the next level? If you ask me, the first thing is offense. You saw Quinn Snyder lead this team to have the second best offensive rating post All-Star break. Behind the Kings were in first after the All-Star break. That was it. Then the Hawks. So we know this team can score, and that's not a big deal. But what are they going to do defensively? Now, Quinn Snyder's not been recognized as a great defensive coach. He's more focused on offense. You've got that 5-out system and the pick and roll, wanting to shoot a lot of threes. That's what Quinn Snyder's known for. But defensively, we didn't really have any upgrades in that department from last year. If you ask me, honestly, we kind of got a little bit worse as far as just personnel-wise, because John Collins provided some great help side and rim protection defense all of last year. So Jalen Johnson is going to need to step up in that department. But for me, it's got to be more of just less gambling. And this relies a lot on DeJounte Murray. DeJounte just has to stay in front of his man and not let the other guards get into the paint. That's the biggest thing for me for this offense. We don't know if we're going to trade Clint Capella yet. He could be traded, he could not. And at this point, it looks like he won't be. If Clint Capella is still on this roster, I think our defense obviously gets better with him on this roster. No doubt it gets better than worse. But Capella and Okongwu are going to have their work cut out for them this year, because we didn't really make any defensive upgrades at that guard position, which point of attack defense was our biggest problem last year. Blackberry, are you there?
You said the guard position?
Yeah, I'm saying Okongwu and Capella, if they're both on the team this year, I mean, Okongwu will be, but if Capella's still on the team come training camp, they're both going to have their work cut out for them, because we didn't really make any upgrades as far as point of attack defense at that guard position.
Oh man, yeah. This is the big question mark with the Hawks.
Yeah,
are we going to be able to hold teams down on the perimeter? Because getting inside seemed to just be something that teams could do at will. Mm-hmm. Getting in the paint all season long. We thought at some point that it was going to correct itself, because Capella is still a defensive anchor in the paint. We was hoping that DeAndre Hunter was going to eventually get back into his lockdown ways out there on the perimeter. And also with the with one-on-one ball, we was hoping that DeJounte Murray was going to be able to translate some of that passing lane, disrupting passing lanes. We thought he was going to be able to get better at one-on-ones as well, because he's long and he's athletic. But so we thought that it was going to correct itself at some point, but it just never did. And it seemed like because we started putting so much focus on trying to trap guys inside from being able to get in the paint, we started giving up a whole lot on the perimeter. And it was just some nights, Mikey, well, teams like the Detroit Pistons would come in and just shoot us out from the damn perimeter. Or teams like the Knicks would just shoot lights out from the perimeter.
Yeah.
Teams that we know that aren't good 3-point shooting teams.
Yeah, that was the frustrating part.
It was so frustrating to see, and it was like, man, what is it about this defense on this team that teams are able to just get what they want, whether it's from the perimeter or whether it's from inside? So you have to point at personnel, and I know we don't. A lot of us don't like pointing the finger at a Clint Capella or Onyeka Okongwu, but the reality has to set in that maybe they just need the perimeter defense to help them.
Yeah, they do.
They just need it. They need perimeter defense. Those two guys.
Yeah, and something that I don't like what fans do. A lot of times they'll say, "Okay, this is on this guy. This is on this guy." Like you need to be able to. Defense is largely team oriented. If you don't have a great perimeter defense, the centers have to deal with so much paint penetration. They're most likely going to be in foul trouble. Then you look at Clint Capella. You say, "Oh no, he has 3 fouls. What is he doing? He's playing terribly." No, there's a ton of different things that go into that. So I think for the Hawks, the biggest thing is just stay with your man. I know DeJounte loves to be in the passing lanes, and that's his greatest strength on defense. It was great for us last year. But overall, I think the biggest key to this defense lies in DeJounte Murray not allowing his man to get into the paint as much. I
agree.
Sometimes, but we obviously know Trey is not the best defender, to put it lightly. And we know he's not going to be on the team's first offensive paint penetrator. DeJounte most likely will be at the first guard penetrator. That's got to be his first. That's going to be his main job. Don't let him get into the paint. DeAndre Hunter is going to handle the wings. Now, I'll debate anybody on this. I think DeAndre Hunter is still a great defender when you have him against wings. Now, he can't guard perimeter defenders. I thought he could when he first came into the league, but he's just not that lateral quick. He doesn't have the lateral quickness to deal with those guys, those small guards.
Yeah.
But when you put him,
it could be due to injuries. Could be due to all those injuries. That could happen.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true. But when you have guys like Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, Kevin Durant, even other guys, he guards Klay Thompson, wings, Paolo Banchero, who had a great rookie season. You see DeAndre Hunter guard these guys and have great defensive performance against them multiple times. So we know we can guard wings, and then we have the best center defensive combo, and honestly, just best center overall combo in the league when we have Capella and Okongwu. So that should be 3 out of 5 guys on the court that'll always be plus defenders. If DeJounte can keep his guy out the paint, I think that'll do wonders for our defense. And I'm not saying it was all DeJounte last year, because it's definitely not. But I think if I'm pinning something that will be the key to having a little bit more success on the defensive end of the floor, DeJounte Murray's man getting out of the paint or keeping from getting in the paint, that's my key.
Yeah, I think somebody that DeJounte should probably talk to and go reach out and probably work out with and get some mentorship with is Scottie Pippen. Scottie had to do it on both ends of the floor, and he knew that. But it just seemed like it came so, natural to him to be a good defender. Now he was longer. He got more length on him. He had more length and size on him than DeJounte. But I think he could give him some tutelage that'll help him on the defensive end and how to be able to still be effective on the offensive end at the same time. Because when a guy gets some kind of when he starts to get that notoriety around the league that he's a good defender, but we also know that he's a playmaker as well. A lot of times they lean so much towards the what's the word I'm looking for? They lean so much toward the reputation that they got, and they rely on the reputation as opposed to making themselves better. Something that a lot of old school players did was they wasn't just satisfied with what they did years before. They made themselves better. The Isaiah Thomases, Michael Jordans, Dennis Rodmans. Yeah, they gained that reputation, but they built on that reputation and didn't just live off of it. So I think somebody he need to talk to is Scottie Pippen in that manner. So, but I agree with you 100% on DeJounte Murray.
Gotcha. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, we see a defensive improvement because we know it's not coming from personnel. So it's just got to be the players from last year that's got to just step up. Now on the offensive end, Quinn Snyder really likes to shoot a lot of threes. He likes to play fast. We know that we're going to have a little bit more movement on offense than rather just pick and roll. But how much pick and roll do you think we're going to have? Because I don't think personally, I don't think you can put our biggest weapon over the last 3 years, which is a Trae Young pick and roll. He's one of the top 3 best guards in the league at operating in the pick and roll. I don't think you can take that weapon away too much. I think we'll still run pick and roll a decent amount, but I've talked to some Hawks fans, and especially when we talk Hawks TV, Matt especially, he's saying that we might not even run the pick and roll at all, if at all, maybe just like 15% of the time. Now, personally, I think that's too low. I think we'll still run pick and roll because we have Trae Young.
Yeah, that's way too low, man. You got Trae Young. Like you said, this guy is one of the best ever to play the game in the pick and roll game. So if you take that element away from him, you're taking away an element of his game that's going to make your team successful. I think what we should see more, and I think we will, is those off-ball screens and those off-ball picks to set plays up for Trae and for DeJounte to be able to facilitate the ball. So you're gonna see a lot of that on the wing. You're gonna see a lot of that on the baseline. It's gonna help not just those guards, but it's gonna help that front court too. It's gonna help them too. So you just want to be in a pick and roll game mindset when you got Trae Young, but you also want to keep other teams having to move around throughout on the whole floor, not just in one section of the floor. So some of those off-ball picks and off-ball screens on the wing and at the baseline, I think we're gonna see a whole lot more of that under Quinn Snyder.
Yeah, I think we will too, and that'll help guys like Bogey, AJ Griffin, Sadiq Bey, Jalen Onyeka Okongwu. If he expanded his game to the 3-point line, we don't know how many threes he's going to shoot, but if he shoots like 1 or 2 a game, which I'd be thrilled if he did that. I mean it's gonna help them too with more off-ball movement. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts before we wrap it up there? The Braves game is just about to start.
Yeah, Atlanta Hawks. Kelly Oubre Jr. does not want to be where he. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. What Kelly Oubre Jr. The Hornets.
Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre Jr.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be there anymore. Go get him.
Well, I'm trying to think of who we could get for him, but I don't really know his role on this team wouldn't be that secure. That's the only thing. You got Bogey, but he would be a good backup small forward. Because we don't really have that right now. Right now, if we'd be playing Jalen, Sadiq, and one of those guys is going to start at the 4. So we really don't have a backup 3 unless we play AJ Griffin or stagger a ton of minutes.
Go get Kelly. I just like the element of that running the floor aspect that I'm just so much of a big fan of when it comes to this team because of DeJounte, because of Trae Young. When we got guys that can run that floor, man, Kelly Oubre brings an element to this game that I really think we could use in the fast-paced game.
That's why Jalen Johnson is so good with Trae and DeJounte too, because he's a monster in the fast break. So I can't wait to see what Jalen Johnson does this year. He hopefully takes a big step up. But yeah,
I'm excited about Jalen Johnson.
Yes, sir. Hawks season is approaching us soon. We got September 23rd media day, so it's approaching fast, guys. So let's see, October 25th opening night. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to Georgia Sports Nation tonight. We're going to be back next week, 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday night. And well, actually, that date is subject to change. So make sure to take a look out. Make sure to keep an eye out for if the stream date changes. But if not, you can expect us to be back next week. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.